Man, first and foremost, again, I want to say thank you to you guys for being on. Like I said, man, me and Theron, we kind of cooked off this thing during our financial literacy seminar, and we got some great feedback on the kids that we touch. Antwon could be a testament to that. His nephew was on, and he loved it, and he was like the youngest guy on. So our thing is, man, we're starting small, but we're trying to reach the masses. So we're going about this NCAA recruiting seminar. Um, I don't know, just on Instagram one day I was scrolling and I trained actually with this young kid that goes to a school in Arizona, and his dad had so many questions. He was like, he's always asking us about our college experience, what it was like with recruiting, how did I think COVID was going to affect his son getting recruited, and I'm like, I have no idea, right? So next thing you know, I go to Theron. I'm like, man, we should put on this college recruiting seminar or workshop. Man, Theron does what Theron does, and he put this thing together. Right, we had the compliance part of it, but it made me think about when my young fella's dad kept asking me about my experience, and I'm like, how can we get people on here, you know, either people we know or don't know that can talk about their experience instead of just hearing about my experience all the time, right? Because you're always gonna get the same story. So that's why we reached out to you guys. So again, man, I just want to say thank you, um, and we're gonna get it rolling. So my first question would be,
Before
oh, wait,
before you guys start, let everybody introduce themselves and
sorry, my bad.
background about everybody.
All right, cool. I'm gonna mute myself.
Uh, my name's Steve Aldridge. Let me see, make sure y'all can hear me. We good?
Yep.
Yeah, my name's Steve Aldridge. I played men's basketball at San Diego City College, down in San Diego, obviously, and then transferred on to play at Division II in Colorado, called Western State, Colorado University. And right now, I'm a graduate assistant coach at Eastern Washington University.
Want to go, ladies? Either or.
I can go. Um, I'm Denise. Gosh, where do I start? It goes so far back. So I actually was on the track and field team at LSU. I was a hammer thrower. Had a bit of a unique experience because I was a walk-on, which I'm sure we'll get into. But after that, I got my master's at Morehouse School of Medicine, which is where I'm from. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, so kind of went back home, got my master's, and actually got had the opportunity to coach a little bit at Georgia State. I was the assistant throws coach, so got to coach in the events that I participated in. Finished, got my master's, and then went to medical school at Medical College of Georgia. So I stayed in Georgia. Just graduated this year. Well, graduated, if you want to say that, because of the pandemic. And I matched at Duke University. So we moved out to North Carolina, and I am doing research this year and will resume my surgical training in orthopedic surgery next summer.
Nice. Congrats.
Thanks.
I don't know if I want to follow up after that. I'm Breann Shelton. I played volleyball at Boise State University, and currently I am the head volleyball coach for a D3 university in Abilene, Texas, Hardin-Simmons, and I jumped around all over the place being an assistant coach at the Division I level. So 4 years at Boise State, a year at Abilene Christian, and then a year at the University of Wyoming, and then came back here to Texas and taken on my first head coaching job.
Congrats also. I'll go next, I guess. I'm Chip. I played baseball at Arizona State back 96 to 99, so it's been a while. And now, after several different paths after my playing days were done with the Angels, it was only 2 years, minor leagues only. I've been at Fisher Institute in Phoenix. It's a physical therapy sports performance clinic for the last 11 years now, and that's how I know JT. And all I do with JT is try and pump the brakes and save him from himself.
I'm sure he make you do that a lot, Chip. That dude just got wind speed, man. He always trying to get better. I'm Antwon Murray. I played at Boise State with Jamar for 4 years. I played football with him, of course, and then my current career, I'm an NFL scout for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I cover the Midwest territory.
Yeah, I'll go next. Will Claye. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. Went to University of Oklahoma, University of Florida. Ran track there. I'm currently two-time Olympian and preparing for the Olympics coming up this year or next year. It's supposed to be this year, but yeah, that's what I'm working towards right now. So just on the track for that.
He's training in Phoenix with Altus or?
Nah, I trained in San Diego at the Olympic Training Center.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
A couple of my old teammates were training there. So I wonder.
Really? What was the name?
A couple of the throwers, Rodney Brown. I don't know if you know.
Okay.
He was there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, that's like my boy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Did he retire? Is he still? I thought he.
I think he's gonna try for next year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Small world.
It is.
Did you say what events and I missed it, or what event?
Oh no, yeah, I didn't. My fault. I'm lacking on my introduction skills. I did the long jump, or I do the long jump and the triple jump.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
I ask that all the time, so it's probably easy to miss.
No, you good.
All right, we're gonna get rolling. All right, so everybody kind of go on about their days, but again, man, appreciate you guys. So we're gonna start off with the first question. So my first question would be to you guys: describe your recruiting process, and what do you remember about it? I mean, I remember mine's. My recruiting process, was Twan coming to pick me up in Boise, but somehow, some way, he got me to commit there. So if you guys, man, can explain your process and what do you remember about it?
I'll go first. The thing that I remember about my recruiting process was the night Chris Peterson came and sat at my kitchen table, and I remember him talking to me, my mom, and my dad. I was looking and searching for a place that felt like as close to home as I could be with being away from home. And I was also looking to be around genuine people and good dudes and good men who was definitely not only just concerned about my well-being as a football player, but just as a person and was going to try to help me grow as a man, because I think that's, that gap right there from 18 to 22, 23 years old, I think you grow probably the most in those years and kind of start shaping who you was going to be. And I remember going on that recruiting trip, and I remember the process of just kind of all the other coaches that I had talked to at that point, and then talking to Chris Peterson, and then hearing his vision, hearing the type of man that he was, and then meeting the staff, meeting Marcel Yates, meeting Jeff Choate, meeting Justin Wilcox. And once I met those guys, I'm like, all right, this is real. Now, everything that this guy's told me, me and my dad have came up here and he showed that, they showed that to us, the hospitality, and then just getting around the players and listening to those guys, just kind of watching how they operated, just kind of watching, how they interacted with each other. And everyone on that team that I was around on my recruiting trip, they genuinely liked each other. Like, I felt the sense of family there. They all had each other's back. And it was guys from New Jersey, a guy from Los Angeles, Washington, just guys from so many different areas. And you would have thought that these gentlemen had been raised together and grew up together their whole entire life. So that was a really important part of the process for me, just the trust factor, the family atmosphere. And then for anybody who haven't been, the city of Boise, is second to none. That's one of the safest places to live in America. Just really nice people, nice scenery, just a place where you can really go and just kind of down and really open your heart and really grow as a person and really grow as a young man. So I thought that program helped me tremendously in terms of going from a young man to a real man. And I think if you ask anybody who went through that program under Chris Peterson and that staff, I think they'll tell you the same thing, the life lessons that they taught us, the things that we learned. I'm not even speaking football, right? Like, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the things that I learned in that program that I still use in my day-to-day life. So that was kind of my recruiting process and what attracted me to Boise State.
I'll go next. I feel like as far as track and field, it's a sport where the numbers are definite. And me coming out of high school, I was the #1 triple jumper out of high school, and there was only one school that had anyone on their roster that had jumped further than me already. And so the school that was Oklahoma, and I took my visit there, and I hated it. The city, I didn't like the city, but it was almost like a business decision. Like, I know that this is where I need to be if I want to be able to compete at the highest level. And I got there on my recruiting visit. You know, they wanted to take me out. I didn't want to go out. I had just came back from USC in LA, and I went up over there, went to Texas A&M, and went to Arkansas. And I just felt like it was the right thing for me to do. Even as a 17-year-old coming out, you want to go somewhere where you can have fun. But, you know, I kind of was just thinking on a different level. Not even as far as like the team. You know, I just was thinking, like, where can I go with the best coach that can get me to where I want to go, which was the Olympics. And to take it a step further, my coach, he's still my coach to this day, actually. The coach that I signed to at Oklahoma, he came to my house on a home visit the day before he got there. It was a drive-by shooting on my street, and he saw the bullet casings in the street, and he was like, "Man, like, this is not a good situation for you to be in, and I just want to be able to help you get out of this situation." And I really I took heed to that, and I felt like he cared about me as a person. And then I had a football game that Friday, and again, it was a shootout at the game, and he walked my mom to her car, made sure she got to the car safe, made sure she got home safe. And when she got home, she told me all of this, and I'm like, dang, yeah, that's a good dude, you know. And I felt like he cared about me as a person, as a young man, and that made me respect him as a man. And I was open to putting my career in his hands, and my mom was open to leaving her son in his hands. And so, you know, that was the decision I made, you know, to go to Oklahoma, just based off of that.
I'll go next. My process was completely different than y'all's, but my senior year of high school, I had committed to just a small junior college up north called Yavapai Community College. The baseball signing, all the early signs obviously are before the senior season, but we had two really good pitchers that signed early to Arizona State. So during the senior year, the coaches came to watch them a couple of times, and, you know, senior year just happened to be a year that the previous 10 years, 15 years of playing baseball came together. We won the championship. I hit over 500. Again, almost like I don't know how it happened, but it did. And so after the season, I got a call from the coach. He called me into the office. Now, keep in mind, Arizona State, being a local guy, growing up, going to the games and stuff, that was, you know, that's where I want to go and play. I want to wear those colors. So we go into his office, you know, last couple of weeks left in the senior year, and he said, in baseball, you only get 11.7 scholarships for 30 to 35 guys. So it's usually split up. You know, this guy might get academics, this guy might get full ride, but full rides are rare. Anyway, he said, I don't have any scholarship money left for you, but I got a jersey and a locker with your name on it. So been very lucky with my parents, and they found a way to make it happen. And I think before he finished the sentence, I asked him if he had a pen. So I guess it's just a sign that even if it seems like it's too late and it might not turn out how you want, if you just keep your head down, keep going. And to mirror Antwon's and Will's, the coach he did more for me as a person than he did as a player, and he was a good baseball coach. So much respect.
That's awesome. I'll go next. All right, so yeah, man, thanks again just for having me. You guys are awesome. But I went to El Camino High School in Oceanside. Jamar, you might know where that's at. And just out of high school, you know, I played basketball, and we won CIF, the whole deal. And kind of recruiting for me, I didn't get recruited by anybody. Like, I didn't even know if I was that great. And I remember talking to my high school coach and being like, you know, I want to go play college ball. I think I could do it. And he was like, well, you know, I know a junior college coach. Go check him out. He's down in San Diego City. The guy that coached there, he's still coaching there, Mitch Charlins, kind of gave me an opportunity, which, you know, in California junior college, you don't get scholarships or anything of that nature. And, you know, it was more of just an opportunity for me to continue playing. And I remember, I had to try out with about 30 other dudes that looked just like me from all over San Diego. A couple of them that I'm still really good friends with, and made it, you know, on the team, and just learned a lot about myself as a man, as a person, basketball player. And the recruiting process for me going into junior college was so different from, you know, going from then a junior college to the university level. And, you know, trying to convince my parents that, look, I'm going to go play college basketball at this junior college down in San Diego City. They're like, boy, what the hell are you doing? Like, you know, go to school. You got admitted to all these schools. And, you know, I had decent grades, and, you know, I was able to get admitted into a couple universities, and they didn't want me to do it. So it took a lot of will, just a lot of hard work from going to high school and getting into that JUCO and working my way up. And then, you know, the recruiting process going from San Diego City to Western State was probably just, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, the things I went through in junior college where, you know, you're trying to get this scholarship to a 4-year. And so you have to perform, and you only have 2 years to do it. And, you know, we say now in the coaching business, you know, the 2-year college, it either makes you or breaks you. You know, you learn a lot about yourself having to play JUCO ball. And I injured myself my sophomore year with 2 games left. Tore my Achilles, ruptured it, and was kind of down for the count. I mean, everybody kind of said, you know, you're probably done. And that's one of the worst injuries you could kind of get as a basketball player. So I had to figure that out, and whether or not I was going to continue to try to play and find a school. And, you know, I found a university where a teammate of mine that I played with my freshman year transferred to. And I said, hey, man, do you guys need a point guard up there? And he, you know, talked to his coach. Coach said, have him send some film. And I must have spent about 3 or 4 hours just trying to make the best highlight tape I could have made. And, you know, I sent it to that coach out there, and he liked it, you know, and was the only guy out of one other school, Eastern New Mexico, that I had sent the tape to that was like, you know, you think you'll be able to play or not? And I said, yeah. So he brought me out on a visit, and, you know, I signed the papers right then and there. And for me, it was just an opportunity to to go somewhere where somebody kind of believed, like, you know, like you were saying, Twan, believed in you, and gave me an opportunity to just continue to play basketball. And I took that and I ran with it, and that's part of the reason, you know, I wanted to coach, was just for all the people that gave me opportunities when I didn't necessarily have the 5-star schools or recruit or none of that. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my recruiting process.
I think the best thing I heard you say is like, you were like making your own highlight film. Like, you have to put yourself out there. And so I think that's definitely can relate to that, but I'll go next. So kind of similarly to Steve and Chip a little bit, but a little bit differently. I was a walk-on, so I didn't know anything about the recruiting process. I'll probably learn a little bit just being on this Zoom with you guys, but my twin sister and I primarily were ball players. So I played basketball my entire life. I make the joke that I came out of the womb with a basketball in my hand. But we got some looks from some smaller D1 schools for basketball, but just playing so long, I was a little burnt out, and I knew I wanted to go to medical school eventually. So I was being an athlete my entire life. I was actually fully prepared to be a regular student. And when it came time to look for colleges, I had pretty good grades. So I got into a good amount of schools. I got some academic scholarships. But I really was looking for a school and choosing a school just to be a regular student. And so that was definitely different than my friends that were going for athletic scholarships. But I played basketball with this family, and almost their entire family had gone to LSU. And, you know, it kind of made me curious, like, okay, it's not, I mean, legacy is cool, but y'all all went to LSU. Like, I kind of got to check it out. It's still, you know, it's in the South, it's close to Georgia. So I went with my mom, and it was just terrible. Just rain. It rains a lot in Louisiana. It was rainy. It was gross outside. We did my college visit, and I still just fell in love. So I 100% was not recruited for track and field. I had a decent senior year in track and field. So when I went back to LSU for orientation, my dad was like, you know, let's just go find the track coach. Maybe you can talk to him. Honestly, if you could even just ask for some workouts and you can work out with the team and put off that freshman 15, that could be cool. Just something to do. And I was like, yeah, you know, just no intention at all of being a part of the track and field team. So I met him. He sent me workouts over the summer, which I did not do because I was trying to have fun. And I got to campus the first day of classes, and I met with him, and he was like, I want you to try out. And so, you know, just wasn't recruited, but just had a good connection with the throws coach, and he put me on the team. And I was terrible at first, but it just, fast forward till now, looking back on it, I had such an amazing experience. And like, it shows you like you will be put in the perfect position at the perfect time. Because I had no intention. I just wanted to be pre-med, maybe be in a sorority or something. I didn't really have a plan, but I was thrown into LSU track and field in an event that I had never done before. They don't have hammer throw at my high school. And it was just an amazing experience. So I hope to learn more about the recruiting process from y'all, because I definitely didn't go through that. But coaching college when I was in grad school, I got to learn a little bit more about it through my athletes. But yeah, I definitely had a unique experience.
So I am from a really small town in Colorado, and I had to travel 2 hours one way for club practices. And so my family committed my 8th grade year to help me chase my dream of playing volleyball in college. And I knew that club was a huge platform for college coaches to recruit from, and still is. And so we committed to that and went on that journey. And by my junior year, I started really pursuing recruitment, and that meant a lot of time of me spending to get exposed. And so at the time, I remember actually mailing DVDs of a highlight film, which nowadays seems so silly since we can just use YouTube or Huddle or any other easy video platform. But I remember putting in DVDs every day after school. And I had a set limit of emails that I wanted to send. And I think it was 10. And so that was the first thing that I would do. I would come home and I'd have a list of school names and I would send 10 emails. And sometimes I would repeat that and send the same school. But I spent a lot of time getting myself just out there. And some of the main things that I really wanted to do was go to I wanted to help build a program and I wanted to compete at a really high level. And so I started looking at summer camps. And so I traveled around and did some college prep camps, and that was a really great way to get to know the coaching staff like on the court and see what kind of coaches they were and what kind of style of volleyball that they ran and what their teammates would be like, and just get a good idea of what the culture was. But my junior year, I took an unofficial visit to Washington State, and I was really excited about that. They were in the Pac-10 at the time and was arguably one of the best volleyball conferences in the country, and I wanted to compete at the highest level. And so anyway, I went there, and 2 weeks later I committed. And very similar stories. I love the coaches. I love the team. I just felt very loved and welcomed when I got there from the first second that I was on campus. And it was really important to me to be playing at a really high level. And my senior year of high school, the coaching staff that I had committed to actually left. And so who I thought I was going to play for was changed really quickly. And I still felt like that was where I was supposed to be and wanted to be competing in the Pac-10 and loved my teammates. And so I went and had a different experience than I expected, and just didn't really feel like the fit was as good with the coaching staff. And so I ended up transferring after my freshman fall to Boise State. And that transfer process was very similar to the beginning recruiting process of just sending a lot of emails and setting up phone calls and sharing video. And we had actually played at Boise State for a preseason tournament, and I had gotten some type of tournament award. And so I knew that they would remember me and they knew who I was. And I loved the campus when we went there and played. And so anyway, I actually drove myself from Pullman, Washington to Boise and took a visit there and committed another week later. So I kind of got both ends of it, but I just remember it being a lot of work. And I still tell prospective athletes today, like, it really is a lot of work, and it's a good snapshot of the amount of work and the demand that it's going to be when you actually get to college and what that looks like to be a student athlete. And so I always tell people, don't let your mom do it, and don't hire a company to do it for you. If you really want this, then you need to put the time into it. And if you don't, then it's going to expose really quickly that you're probably not cut out for the demands of what it's going to be when you get to college. So that was kind of my recruiting process. And it was well worth all of the work, and 10 times over, but it certainly is a big process to get through.
All right, thank you guys. Can you next kind of describe a typical day as a college student athlete and just how you manage your time with athletics and academics?
I can go first on this one since we had practice today. But I guess for myself, from what I can remember, the days are long, and I remember being from San Diego and waking up and it was 0 degrees in the wintertime, and you're asked to go to the gym at like 5 a.m. for weights, and you're with your whole team and you're in there lifting from like 5 to 6. Then you get on the court, you do a sort of not a whole practice, but a mini workout with maybe guys in your like position. And then from there, I remember going back home, making breakfast, and getting ready for class. Probably have class from like 8 to 11, 12. And you're required to, as a team, coaches tell you to sit in the front class. You can't have your hood, your headphones on. So you can't fall asleep because those professors are going to hit your coach up. So you got to be, alert and listening. Then from 11, 12, you're getting lunch. You're starting practice at 1, right? And that's, kind of the highlight of the day. So you're trying to get yourself mentally prepared the whole morning to go to practice at 1, 1 to maybe 3, depending on how nice your coach is feeling or what y'all need to work on. Afterwards was usually treatment. I know for a guy like me, I need a lot of treatment. I didn't bounce back that quick just with my foot, my injury. Maybe team meetings or anything like that, tutoring. If you're struggling in a class, and by the time, you get out of the facility, the gym, you're getting home at 4 or 5. And then by that time, you're starving, especially if, you've been going hard all day. So you're trying to make dinner, and you do that, from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, get your feet back under you. And then, it's usually homework, or you're going back to the gym to get your extra reps in because you've got a freshman or a sophomore that wants to take your spot, and you got to make sure that you're keeping your game tight and you're always, putting in a little bit extra. So it's a long day. And, looking back, it's like, I wish I could wake up tomorrow and have that day, you know what I mean? Be able to put those shoes on one more time. But yeah, that's kind of what I remembered answering that question.
I can definitely go next. One thing I would say is nice about being a college athlete, even as a walk-on, before I ended up getting a scholarship later, but even as a walk-on, you have a lot of the same expectations of everybody else. But it's nice because you usually get to schedule your classes before anybody else, the rest of the entire school. So it's good and bad because, you get priority. You can try to, I had it down to a science by senior year, but you can make the perfect schedule, but you do have to schedule your classes around practice. So at LSU, we didn't practice or really do any team workouts super, super early in the morning. They made sure we practiced at 1, 2 o'clock in the middle of the afternoon when it's hottest to kind of condition our bodies to just to be able to withstand the elements. We'd go to Texas, we'd go to Arizona, we'd go anywhere, and we'd pretty much be able to kind of, be in that weather and be fine because we practiced when it was so hot in the day. So practice was in the afternoon. So I was in class all morning. Just kind of like Steve was saying, 8 to 11, sometimes a little bit earlier. And then, you go and grab lunch, you go and do whatever you need to do, and you go to practice. So I didn't require too much rehab or things like that. I would get rubbed out. I kind of started having some back problems. So that was really the only area I'd need rehabbed. And then I go to practice for 2 or 3 hours, and I'm pretty much done with everything track and field wise by 4 or 5 o'clock. Being pre-med, I had a scientific lab, chemistry, physics, what have you, almost every semester. So unfortunately, I was in class probably until about 10 o'clock at night some semesters, because those labs, if any of y'all have to take any, are 7 to 9 p.m. or 7 to 10 p.m. So sometimes, you don't get the best schedule. But one thing that I just really want to mention that I had a really good experience with is, especially on the track team, all the spring semester and sometimes even at the end of the fall semester, we're traveling. So some weeks I was gone 3 or 4 days the entire week. And I think it's really important that, just like Steve was saying, sit in the front of your classes or kind of try to have somewhat of a personal relationship with some of your teachers, especially in those classes that are important to you, because when you're traveling and these things build up, my personal experience was, some of my science professors knew I was pre-med, also knew I was on the track team. And when I would miss tests or miss assignments, they were extremely lenient about me making them up and just being flexible with me because they took me seriously. I was by far not a straight A student, but just taking the extra time, meeting with them after class and explaining to them, I'm not going to be in class every day, or I'm not, I won't be here for this test. When can I make it up? If you're the type of student that sits in the back of the class, is on their phone, just doesn't take class seriously, because you are a student athlete before you're an athlete. You're a student. You're here to graduate. That's the only reason you go to college, is to graduate. So kind of just establishing somewhat of a positive and serious rapport with your teachers will really pay off as an athlete, because you're going to miss a lot and you're going to need them to be on your side. So that's one thing I will say. It wasn't, I didn't have a crazy tip, day to day. It was really just about getting the things done that I needed to get done and getting to practice on time because my coach did not play showing up late.
I would say my schedule was very similar to both of you guys. Another thing that we had was study hall hours. So as freshmen, I remember us having like a required, I think it was 6 hours a week of structured study hall. And then we had kind of a tiered system based off of your cumulative GPA for how many hours you had in addition to that as you were sophomore, junior, senior. I also remember it being a lot harder moving off of campus because you just have more adult responsibilities of taking care of your house and going to get groceries and cooking for yourself. And so that was another transition and learning how to manage your time when it's already really in high demand. Taking care of your schoolwork and then taking care of yourself physically and all of the things that come with practice and lifting and treatment and all of that. I would also say that we were athletes year round. So even when we weren't in season, we were still lifting 4 days a week. And then we would have more like individual or small group practices 3 or 4 times a week, just based on the training segment that we were for the NCAA rules. And then we were there pretty much the entire summer. So we would take summer classes, help run our summer camps, and then we still trained. So we practiced together as a team and we lifted every morning. And so it really was just a year-round commitment, not just when you were in season in the fall.
For sure. Definitely a 24/7, 365 commitment. I feel like, Twan, you was going? Okay. Yeah, my schedule was similar, 6 a.m. weights, go to class from 7 to 1:30, practice from 2 to about 4, and then it would be like, I guess like a dinner. And then from there, we had a mandatory study hall. That was for all freshmen. We had mandatory study hall, which was good. I feel like it made sure that I stayed on top of, my work. And if I ever had any homework or papers to write, it was people there to help me out. And I think we get so many resources as athletes that we don't always take advantage of. And as a freshman, they made us do that. And that was a good introduction for me because from then on, I was like, okay, yeah, I know where to get my help from. And then, just tapping in with my teachers, making sure I had a good rapport, pulling up to all the office hours, just to pop in. Hey, miss, my name is Will Claye. I'm on the track team. And, I just wanted to, introduce myself. There may be times where I may not be able to do this or that, but just wanted to let you know now that things may pop up. And I think they appreciate that. I think, as an athlete, some teachers look at you like, you're not special and nothing like that. But when you just come to them as a student, they respect that, and they're willing to, to help you in different ways. But yeah, I feel like my schedule was similar until when I moved off of campus. That was when it was a little tougher because now I got more time. I don't got to go to mandatory study hall. I still need to go to the library and this and that. And it's like, now I got to drive from home. I think then was where I had to be more strict on myself with my schedule. And, that just came down to just being disciplined. Obviously we all know student first, athlete second. So, I had to make sure that I was taking care of my grades and, just getting things done, taking care of my house, making sure that I was eating right. It's a 24/7 thing. You got to make sure you're getting your rest. You got to make sure that your diet is on point. They help you with that. We got our own athlete cafeteria at OU, and obviously practice and training and watching film. Because as an athlete, you want to gain that edge. So it may be times where you don't have a mandatory film session with your coach, but you at home. You at home. You got an hour or so before bed. Watch film or do extra core work or whatever it was. That's what I did just to where I could get ahead. And prepare myself to be the best athlete. That I wanted to be as well. So for me, it was 24/7.
Similar schedule to what everybody kind of saying. When you are a freshman, you do have that mandatory hour of study hall. So for me, when I was a freshman, I had weights at 6, and then mandatory study hall at 7:40, and then you might have an 8:40 class, a 9:40 class, a 10:40 class, and then you have to be done with classes at noon because you practice in the afternoon. So meetings started at 2. We was probably on the practice field by 2. Meetings started at 2. Special teams meeting probably started at 2:55. Probably on the practice field by 3:15, and then you off the practice field probably by, let's say, 5, depending on 3:15, by 5:45, 5:30. And then after practice, you got a mandatory dinner. You got to eat. And then, if you want to, you had some guys like Jamar Taylor who put in more film watching hours than anybody I know. He would go get his plate, get his food, and then he would go back and he would watch more tape. And then he was also one of the most studious guys we had in our on the team, really. And you got to find that time. After you eat, after you watch film, now you got to find that time to get an hour in and do your homework, right? To read, to kind of just get organized and everything, to catch up on school. And then when you're not, when I was a upperclassman and my grades was good enough and I didn't have to be in study hall, the only difference in that schedule was I just didn't have that 7:40 window to go and do study hall. So my lift time was moved up a little bit. So if I had an 8:40 class, I would have to lift at 7 o'clock, or I would have to lift at 7:30, just to be done with my lift and then get a chance to go to my class. But it's just like everybody said, it's a 365, it's a year round thing. For us, what was consistent was we always had afternoon practices in the fall and in the spring. Now, some schools, a lot of schools, they're morning practice teams. So now they practice in the morning. So they can't start we had to be done with class by noon. Now they can't start their classes until, noon. And so they meet in the morning and then they practice in the morning. And then after that, they go to class. And then I think they even come back to the building later on that day for meetings. So that was kind of a schedule. A lot of it is, you just got to take ownership of your life. You got to learn time management, and they do a lot of good things to help you with that, right? You get a planner. You got people kind of checking in on where you need to be. And it's just you finding the extra time to get the things done that you need to get done to make yourself better outside of what they've already set up for you.
So very similar to all the previous, I was one of the athletes that did not take advantage of those resources early on and realized fairly quickly that I needed to do that. But depending on the time of year, with NCAA time limits and whatever else, if it was a day or a section of time where we would have early morning workouts, same as these folks, it would be early morning workout, shower, try and get something to eat, go to class for 3 or 4 hours, fill an hour or 2 hours with lunch and maybe tutor session, and then go to practice, get done with practice. Again, study hall, which bonus of study hall, that's where I met my wife. She played soccer while studying. And during the summer, we do that. You got your season, like Denise was talking about, being in front of the teachers when you are in town, being in class, letting the teachers see your face, that then when you do go and talk to them during office hours or whatever, they at least recognize you. And like Will said, they're seeing you as a student now, not just an athlete that's coming to get a handout or something, without the work, because they're an athlete. So being in class every day helped me tremendously. And then, time management. you got to shop, clean, cook, do all this stuff, drive, pass your classes, go to tutors, go to study halls. And during the summer for baseball, it was you get a week or two after the season's over, then you go play summer ball for 2 to 3 months, come back, you got a week or two off, and then back at it. But time management was pretty frustrating for me from the start. It was like, I was that classic high school kid. I'm going to college to play baseball. It's going to be the same thing as it was in high school, but yeah, it didn't factor in all those other things.
Now that's good. All you guys, man. I think it's crazy how, we all play different sports. Will and Denise is the same. Steve, he plays basketball. Me, Twan, play football. Breann played volleyball, right? Like we all have these same similar stories of like our schedule, right? Like I don't think from the outside looking in, people really notice that. They don't know how like that schedule is like, it's just boom, 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 right? But then when you have that leeway, once you're off campus, once you're out of the dorms, you don't have to have that study hall, and like time management is like so big in our field, right? Like Will talked about like getting an edge on somebody, right? Like Steve said the same thing especially when you got people coming from your spot, like, and like you're trying to like watch film, or you're trying to like go get, extra running in, trying to go put some extra buckets up or whatever. And it's like you have to like manage that time, because during the other time periods of the day, you're busy, right? Like how Twan said, like, man, we were up early, but then next thing you know, they switched our whole schedule later on, where we practiced in the morning, but we had more time in the evening, but we had to come back for meetings. So it was like, well, how do I get better in this time period? Like I still have homework to do, right? But I still want to go do some extra footwork, and I still want to watch film, right? Like, and I think just trying to figure out what you can do to become better. A lot of kids, I think, it's a big wake up call, because when you're in high school, man, you just go to practice. You're good, right? You probably one of the best on the team. You just hop up, you just do it. That's what you do. But when you go to college, now you got somebody just as good as you, right? And then you go to professional league, you got somebody that's probably better than you, right? So just always trying to figure out a way to get the edge, or a way to be the best student athlete you can be, right? Or even how Will said, like, the teacher, you don't want the teacher just look at you as an athlete. I think that's huge. I know for Twan, like Coach Pete talked to us about that all the time. Sit in front of the class, go to office hours, introduce yourself. After that first day of class, go into like, hey, I'm Jamar Taylor, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Because we had a ton of teachers at Boise, they couldn't stand football players, right? So by us going up to them and just introducing ourselves, it changed the narrative right off that. And then you're actually a good student and you're participating. Then they're like, oh yeah, like I like that guy, right? So then now when we're traveling and we had to do tests and things like that, they were more lenient with us, because we put in the effort, we put in the work, we showed them that we had to drive to get good grades. We're going to skip.
Sorry, one thing I just wanted to add to that is for any, student athlete or students that are like listening, or parents or whatever, that like maybe considering, we all want to play sports, we all love our sport, but school, after school, professional school, graduate school, Jamar, that's honestly the best advice you can give, because what are you going to do when it's your junior year, you're applying to business school, you're applying to medical school, you're applying to veterinary school, and you need letters of recommendation?
Yeah.
So not all of us really needed that, but obviously you're really close with your coaches. Your coach is going to write you a bomb letter of recommendation. My coach wrote me a great letter of recommendation, but he's not the only person that I need. More than that for medical school. I need my chemistry teacher. And if I never ever met him and I walk up to him for a letter, what is he going to write about?
Yeah.
So that's just one thing. Yeah, like that's even more incentive to get to know your teachers.
That's a great point. I'm going to skip down to question 5, right? Because I know we've been kind of going. And so the question is, how has your participation in college athletics helped your career transitions? Right. I know, Will, you're still kind of going at it. Steve, I know you're a coach. All you guys are doing these different things. Denise, you're in the medical field. Can you guys explain how athletics helped you guys make the jump into the transitions that you guys are doing right now?
Athletics taught me it taught me time management, It taught me discipline, and it taught me the importance of buying in. Sorry about that.
That's
Let's see.
It
Coronavirus.
taught me the importance of buying in to something that's bigger than just you. It taught me, um, man, it taught me just to work hard. It taught me, like, it was already ingrained in me to wake up early and have a sense of responsibility to be somewhere on time. Not just on time, be there early. And then how to conduct myself when I got there. That responsibility right there and learning that, I think those things I think have helped shape me the most with what I do right now, because a lot of the things that I do right now, um it's about having discipline. It's about being accountable. It's about putting my personal beliefs aside and buying in to reach the common goal that we have set here in Tampa Bay. It's larger than me, right? I might not agree with everything that's said or everything that's going on, or the way this guy may look, or the way this guy may look, right? Or the way we might draft this player or not draft this player. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about this organization. It's about the greater good. And I still have a team of guys that I have to work with, that we are close knit with, that we have to communicate with. And I still have that sense of family. So that's helped me in my transition in my career.
for me. I feel like being a college athlete made me respect the process. I feel like it made me respect the process in everything that I do, whether it's now, even though I'm still an athlete, trying to get into the business world, trying to get into real estate and other business endeavors, and respecting the process and not going into anything feeling like it was ever given to me, because for everything that I ever got as an athlete or accomplished as an athlete, I had to work so hard for it. I had to train. I had to study my sport. I had to do more than I felt like anybody else was willing to do. And so I felt like that is what I feel like I had to take into everything that I do. At this point, even with relationship with my wife, at this point, putting that same energy that I put into, trying to be the best athlete, putting that into relationships, putting that into, everything that I do. I feel like also understanding that it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be ups and downs. I feel like as an athlete, I went through so many ups and downs, injuries, not to mention just the practices. That's just hard. Sometimes you just get broke, and you got to bounce back from that, and I just feel like that's life, period. That's a life lesson. Every day is not going to be the best day. And you got to bounce back from it. It's sometimes you going up the mountain, sometimes you coming down, and I feel like sports taught me how to handle that. I shouldn't say it taught me that, but it taught me how to handle that and how to maneuver through that and just kind of stay even with my faith, and always have faith in being able to make it through and coming out on top. So, I feel like being an athlete just has helped me in life, because I'm able to put those things, even teamwork with playing on different teams and things like that, being able to give, the best of me to a team and whatever, it may be, whether it's in a business deal or whether it's on a Olympic team trying to win the most medals out of every country in this world. I think just being able to give my all to the team and feel like I'm doing it for something bigger than myself. Just like Antwon said, is something that I learned from sports. And I feel like it just made me a better man in general. You know, being able to maneuver through being an athlete and the things that were thrown my way. Sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with both of y'all, man. Like the time management piece of just how you learn that when you're a student athlete, because you're not a regular student, and man, and then to what you guys said about just being a part of like something bigger than yourself, you know what I mean, and understanding like how to be that team player to help your team move forward in the right direction. You know, and then I love what you said, Will, just about falling in love with the process, right? Because in athletics, we all like work really hard to get what we got, and that's in the business world. That's in a number of different fields. You know, you don't just walk in and get handed, you know, what you want. You got to work for it. And you know, having like played and me now coaching, I'm going into year 8, and you know, I've worked now at JUCO and D2 level, and I'm at the Division I level. And I was, you know, a couple of years ago, I'm like, I'm at the peak, you know, of the D2 level as a head assistant, you know, making good money and this and that. And I'm like, I jumped to the Division I level, and now I'm at the bottom again. You know what I'm saying? And I got other GAs around me that are like, you know, they're still just figuring it out. And I'm like, man, look, we at the bottom. You're not going to get this or that. Like, we got to work, show up every day on time, be the first ones, leave the gym the latest. You know what I mean? Have our film turned in, whatever it is, whatever the staff needs. You know, we got to work. And it's the same thing with athletics, man. Like, nobody, you're not just going to walk into the gym, no matter how good you are. You know what I mean? Like, for me, myself, I was never that person that walked into the gym and made people turn their necks. You know what I mean? Like, I had to get it out the mud, I always say, like. And so that's just how I've related, and, you know, it's something that I'm going to take with me now with coaching, and hopefully, you know, I'll get to start from the bottom again at another level. But for now, it's like, that's one of the biggest things I took, is that you gotta go through it. You gotta go through it. And, you know, when those hard times do hit, you got to be able to bounce back and not look at yourself and say, man, I'm a failure or this or that, you know? So yeah, absolutely.
I think you said something really important. I'm gonna just kind of elaborate on it a little bit. One of the biggest things and the best things that I heard that I always took with me from Boise State, and Jamartin heard this before. If you don't like your role, change it. And you don't change your role by complaining. You don't change your role by pouting. You don't change your role by going and, you know, being a locker room lawyer and doing all that. You change your role by accepting responsibility for the role you have and excelling in that role. That's how you change your role. If your role is to make coffee, you need to be the best goddamn on coffee maker in the country. Right? And once you perfect that and you the best coffee maker in the country, I guarantee you somebody will notice and be like, all right, shoot, he perfected that role, so let's give him something else. But if you in that role and you don't want to be there and you just be like, oh, I'm going to let the coffee be cold and I ain't going to let the coffee beans soak all the way, like, you ain't going to never excel in your role. So that's one of the biggest things. If you don't like your role, man, you change it, and you change it by excelling in that role.
Twan, literally, that just made me think of just being a walk-on. So I just wasn't good when I started. I didn't travel. I didn't get gear. Like, I didn't get shoes when season started. Like, I was throwing in my high school shoes at LSU. And like, my teammates were kind of just thinking I should have been happy to be there. But I didn't like losing. I wasn't a loser in high school. I wasn't used to that. And they were kind of just like, oh, well, you know, you like indoor season, you don't need to worry about outdoor season, just little things, and to kind of keep me complacent. And so I think one of the biggest things I carried from athletics to starting my career now is just like not being okay with failing and not being complacent. So I wasn't good enough to be on the travel team when I first started. I really just worked my butt off the summer after my freshman year, and ended up just, my whole track and field career was just a whirlwind. I broke the school record after like almost 10 years, my sophomore year, and it just went up from there. And still dealt with failures, just not doing well at some track meets and just having to just, be a mature person and look at myself and see what's wrong. Just like Steve was saying, like, you're not just going to get handed things. You have to work your butt off. So one of the things that I learned through that is just, I wasn't good enough at first, and I just worked hard to be literally the best in my event. And it's a similar situation to my pathway to medicine, because at first I didn't get into medical school at first, went to grad school, grinded, did better on the entrance exams, got into medical school, which was such a blessing. And even fast forward to my position right now, I'm matched into orthopedic surgery, which is one of the least diverse fields of medicine, period. General surgery, OB-GYN, ENT, none of that. It's very, there's a huge paucity of women. There's not a lot of African-American women. And so just trying to break into trying to be a walk-on, trying to get into medical school, trying to be orthopedic surgeon, just trying to break into fields where so many people are telling you you don't belong, can weigh on you. But being an athlete and going through that and failing, as a younger person, it makes you stronger, and it makes you able to deal with those setbacks. And yeah, you're not upset just like a normal person. We're human, but do you stay down, or do you use that to look into yourself and say, hey, like, what do I need to improve myself? And this is the last thing I'm going to say. I just remember when I didn't get into medical school the first time, one of my top choices was LSU's med school. And I remember I was already in grad school, but I was reapplying for medical school. And I was going to one of the alumni meets in Baton Rouge. And I was like, let me go to take a trip to New Orleans and try to meet some of their people and just see, and just shoot my shot and see, what will it take for me to get accepted to y'all's medical school? Because I was reapplying. And I went to the track meet, segued over to New Orleans, and just sat down with some of the people on the admissions committee and was like, look, this is the application I applied with last year. I did my best, but obviously I know I need improvement. I didn't get in. What is it that I need to do? And I think having that kind of self-reflection only comes from failure. When you're doing well and you're on top, you don't look at your film and say, well, what did I do to mess up? No, you won, unless you're Jamar. No, you won. You're number one. You're like celebrating yourself. So some of the things that failure teaches you is invaluable. And if I learned anything from being an athlete, it's that. And orthopedic surgeons love athletes. So on the interview trail, that's like all I talked about. And so it made for great stories. And they know that I'm going to work hard. Athletes work hard, unless we wouldn't make the team. So right off the bat, whatever job you're eventually going to apply to, if you're an athlete, there's so many ways you can use that to your advantage, because these people know, at least on paper, these people know this person's going to work hard. So if you learn anything, try to keep that value, because people want athletes in whatever field and whatever workforce you're trying to enter into.
Denise, I commend you on that. Seriously, just not being complacent for what's ordinary. That's huge. Like, always just trying to do great things and things that are outside of the box. I commend you on that.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Just do it. That's huge.
Thank you. Track's an individual sport, so we're cheering for ourselves. But you are your biggest advocate, just like Steve was saying and Breann was saying. Y'all were sending out y'all's own films. A lot of people at schools, in high school, their coaches do that for them. And and nobody's checking to see, oh, did Breann get a scholarship? Like, you are your biggest advocate, and you made that happen, and you ended up at Boise, and it sounded like it was a better experience for it. So you have to promote yourself.
Sure.
I agree with everything that everybody has said. Just learning how to be resilient, the work ethic, the discipline, those are things that I think are easily overlooked sometimes, and we're like, oh yeah, everybody does that, but that's not true. That's why not everybody's a college athlete, and it weeds people out really quick, even in just the recruiting process. So I just wanted to echo that. And something that I don't think I realized until I graduated and started coaching, and I remind my current players of this often, that when you're a student athlete, it's the only time in your life that there is an entire department on campus that is hired to make sure that you reach your potential. And I didn't realize that when I was a student athlete. And looking back, I think everybody on this call would agree that it was hard, but real life is a lot harder. And being a student athlete was easier than where we're at now, and we would go back there in a heartbeat. And so that's something that I always think about, is you're never going to be in a place again where you have teams of people that their job is to make sure that you succeed, whether that's academic advisors or coaches or tutors or whatever, athletic trainers. Like, that's their entire job, is to make sure you reach your potential. And then it just gets harder. Life just gets harder after being an athlete. And some of those skills that we learned during that time are invaluable and are immeasurable. And sometimes I don't even think we realize how much we get from that. And a different thing that hasn't been said is, I'm really grateful for being just around a variety and a diverse group of people, people from all different walks of life, different stories, different places around the country, and just learning that we're all trying to achieve the same thing, and just understanding people and where they're coming from, and having just a different perspective and respect for people, I think is huge, and has really been a huge thing that I've taken away from being an athlete, just in life, and then also coming into the coaching world, and just remembering that we're people. We all love sport and the sport that we're doing, and we have goals, but at the end of the day, we're still a person, and we're not just this robot that has no feelings or has, different goals or interests. And so that was something that I've really grown to appreciate from my time of being an athlete, is just being around a lot of different people and learning what that looks like, and understanding them, and being able to love them. So
That's such a good point. I agree 100%.
So I'll keep my answer as brief as possible, since most of it's been covered, but so much of being an athlete is the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. Very few things you can control. But one thing you know for certain is that you're going to fail. It's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to get put on blast in front of a stadium, in front of, in the locker room, behind closed doors, where there's no governor on any kind of things that are said by the coach or anything else. And the coach is going to do it sometimes intentionally to see who is going to be strong enough and thick-skinned enough to get through that. So once it comes time where you're walking in the stadium, you look left, you look right, you're with the track team, you're with the volleyball team, you're with the basketball team, it doesn't matter. You know that person got your back, that person got your back. And that being part of something that you all just had to suck it up together, those are the things that last. And then on top of that, over the last 11 years where I work, been very fortunate to work with a lot of guys like JT. So you have access to these guys and the experience they have. So, you ask them questions like, "No, what you know now, what do you wish you knew back then?" And over the time, it's kind of boiled down to the 6 things. One is self-awareness, and it's 100% honest evaluation of what you do on the court, field, gym, but classroom as well. You have to be an active participant. You have all these resources. You can't just go to the tutor, go to study hall, and expect that you're just going to get good grades. You still have to put the work into it. An extremely high level of accountability to the teachers, the staff, teammates, and majorly by the support system that's supporting you through all this. For the time management, you have to have some form of a plan and a strategy. To help with that, you got to have a good routine. And then at the very end of it, all those don't mean anything by themselves. You need the discipline to then tie all of those together. And, like I said, I forget who it was. I think was it Steve or Will? You're talking about the reason, yeah, it was Steve. I think he said the reason you're a coach now is because you've had great coaches. And I have the same feeling. I've had great coaches in high school, college, professional level. And if I don't at least try and pass some of that on now, then I feel like I'm wasting it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, for sure. Told people that numerous times. I mean, if I was to be doing anything at this point, I'd feel like I'd be cheating the game. So that's just it felt like my calling, and I fell into it, and I've loved it ever since. And yeah, no, absolutely.
Man, I got one more thing that I feel like helped me personally with being a student athlete was continuing to be a student even after I was done with being in college, and just striving to always want to learn, and being coachable still, still being an athlete or whatever field that it is you're going into, just being hungry for more knowledge, staying in that frame of mind to where it's like, okay, I don't know everything, and there is something for me to learn, and there is something, there may be a mentor or someone else that can teach me, something new, and being able to build on that. I feel like that's something that really helped me to continue on and to further myself in different ways. So just continuing to be a student is a big thing I learned for sure.
All right, yeah, no, those are really, really good answers. So I know it's laid back east for a few of you guys. You guys are in central time zones. Everybody's kind of like in a different time zone. So just take us home with this last question of just any advice you would give prospective collegiate athletes, right? Like, what is one thing, or if what is one thing you would tell somebody that's in high school right now that wants to play college sports?
Mental toughness is the first thing that I'll say to them. Learn how to deal with disappointment. Learn how to deal with being told no. Learn how to deal with being told you're not good enough, and learn how to deal with failure. You got to be mentally tough enough to push through some kind of adversity to experience success. Some people experience adversity early. Some people experience it late, but at some point, something isn't going to go your way, and you have to be mentally tough enough to deal with it. You got to push through adversity. Every day, compete with yourself. Extreme accountability. Hold yourself accountable and be honest with yourself. If you are honest with yourself, no one else can hurt your feelings. If you can do those things, you have a really, really good shot of being successful at something. Might not be football, basketball, baseball, track or field, but at something. And keep in mind that the most important thing that you will be one day, man or woman, is a leader. Not the leader of football, baseball, basketball, track and field, but the leader of your family. So find something to ground yourself in. Find some values to lay your foundation on, that you want to continue to grow. And you got to love it. If you like it, you probably won't be successful at it. You got to love it. To get something you've never had before, you got to be willing to do some things that you've never done before. And you got to outwork the competition. And along the way, make sure you treat the janitor like the president.
Amen. I would say one thing, man. Be persistent. Persistent. If you're trying to go play college sports, be persistent. I mean, when I had my first full-time job, I was getting emails from kids. I didn't even know what to do with them. And I remember there was one kid who had emailed me, and I didn't think he was good enough to play at our level. This was at Division II level, and he just kept emailing and emailing and emailing, and eventually came up on his own visit. And it got to the point where I would have felt bad saying no and going and meeting him and his family in person. And so, long story short, he was persistent, and he got a walk-on spot. He got the tryout for the team, got a walk-on spot, and now he's a scholarship player there. And he's living out his dream. And that's because he was persistent in his effort, and, you know, he had a chip on his shoulder, and he knew what he wanted. So that'd be my advice. That's kind of what I did when I was a player. I was just persistent with my recruiting process, and, you know, you just got to keep your nose to the pavement and just keep pounding, keep being persistent.
Along those same lines, I think persistence will bring you anywhere you want to go. Just like the kid that Steve was talking about, you know, he wasn't really getting looks, and he kept being persistent, and he got that look. You know, I think being walking onto a team is a little bit intimidating and is a little scary for some people, but it can still be such a great experience. I had a lot of teammates that were walk-ons, that were preferred walk-ons, and we all had a great experience. And some of us ended up later proving ourselves and earning athletic scholarship. Like, I walked into my coach's office and was like, "Look, these are the numbers I've given y'all," and he gave me an athletic scholarship. He couldn't say anything. So be persistent. And another thing I will say, and this may be a little bit personal, but as students, a lot of us have been athletes our entire lives, and I think you can kind of get pushed into a corner. You know, oh, they're just an athlete. They don't really. People make that your identity, which is, you know, not the worst thing in the world at times. I love being an athlete. I love playing basketball. I love being on the track and field team. I love walking around in my gear on campus and people know, okay, she's on the track team. Like, it's great to feel a part of something. But just like Breann was saying, you know, we are people. We are extremely different. And so you should still hold on to those things that make you you. For me, it was hard for me to get confident in my journey to becoming a physician, because I've always been an athlete. You know, you don't have to be smart if you can throw a ball. You don't have to be smart if you know what I mean? It's like, people look at us as, you have that going on, why do you need anything else? And I always knew I wanted to be a doctor, and getting into medical school and graduating, I had a confidence issue because I didn't look at myself as the smart girl. And it took me a while to realize there's no reason why I couldn't be both. Among a bunch of other things. Just because you're an athlete, even if you're a really good athlete, you can be a whole bunch of other things. You can be a parent. You can love music. You can love art. There's just so many things, and being an athlete shouldn't short you from any of that. It can open up a whole bunch of doors, but definitely don't let it close doors before you see those opportunities.
I would say one thing that I wish that I would have done and didn't, and I tell recruits all the time now, even kids that I'm recruiting, is go visit a lot of schools. Go see a lot of campuses, go all over the country, because things that you think you want, you may not actually want once you get there in person, and you don't even really know what you want until you experience a lot of them. So the more schools you visit, the better perspective that you're going to have about what will be a good fit for you. And I think another good option is to go to camps that are offered. I really do feel like you get a different experience of learning what the culture of a program is and understanding the coaching staff and the current players. I think that's really, really important. And you don't learn that just through a normal campus visit or just from talking with a coach. I think you need to be in the gym with them as well. So those are two things. Go visit, and if you can, go to camp. I think that's a really, really valuable experience.
I would say college is going to be some of the best days of your life, but at the same time, it's going to be really tough. And you got to really understand that you could be the best athlete in the world, but that's not going to get you through. You got to still be willing to work hard. You got to still be disciplined. You got to still be coachable. You got to go to class. You got to really, focus on the things that a student has to focus on as well. You know, you kind of have two jobs as a student athlete, and you know, you're gonna enjoy it, but at the same time, you're gonna have to work really, really hard, and you got to be humble. You know, that's a big thing that I feel like a lot of athletes that I've seen that were the most talented that didn't make it to where they wanted to was just from not being humble. And you know, I just feel like any athlete in any sport needs to know that. So that's really all I got as far as that.
Coachable that's a big point. I like that. Not just like at the track and on the court, field, whatever, like classroom as well, business, whatever it is. I tell guys all the time, and my younger brother is kind of how I came up with this one, is until you're 150% positive that you are done, and that is 150%. You have to maintain true belief, not false hype, real belief in it. And you know there's going to be roadblocks. So then you just have to figure out you're going to go over, around, under it, or through it. You're going to need help with that. That's where your support system comes in. But 150% positive before you decide to get off the train. Because once you get off the train leaves, the train does not go in reverse. Very rarely does anybody hang them up for a year or 2 years and they get that second chance. So if they really want it, I think we've covered already that it's going to hurt. It's a lot of work, a lot of new things, a lot of new people, a lot of new environments. Just hang with them with belief. That's all I got.
I kind of want to hit this question, guess because I ain't really said much, but you know, one thing Twan says, and you guys are saying it over and over, but one thing Coach Pete used to always tell us, right? Trust the process. I think that's huge with being anybody, right? You don't even have to be a student athlete, just being anybody. I think trusting the process and betting on yourself. You know, it's going to be something like you guys said. It's going to be something that happens. It's going to be some adversity that hits. Nobody goes through life without facing adversity. But then just betting on yourself and holding tight to your vision, because a lot of people aren't going to understand, right? Like, I think about the parties I missed out on in college, right? I think about the hangout times I missed. Like Twan to tell you, there's a lot of times like I wasn't popping up, but I was at the park working out. And it was a lot of times that I haven't been able to get home there and tell you, you know, I haven't been able to make it home for get together with my friends or one of my guys' birthdays, you know, and I've been playing football for 25 probably plus years. I just turned 30, so probably like 25 years. So, you know, I think about it and it's like at times people think I'm crazy or, you know, like, hey man, why are you missing out? Or you're different or this or that. But it's always held tight to the vision. And 8+ years in the NFL, you know, call me crazy or not, you know, I mean, God put that vision in my mind and I'm still rolling. So, you know, people will doubt you. People will say you're too small, say you not fast enough, say you're not tall enough, you know, you're not quick enough. But if you hold tight to your vision, if you trust the process and you believe in yourself and believe in God and that He's gonna see you through it, nothing can stop you. You know what I mean? In the lines of Will too, as he said, you know, being humble through all of it. As long as you do that and you stay focused, and you know, keep those grades up, you know, while you're in school, because without the grades you can't be on the court or on the field or on the turf or whatever. But as long as you do that, you know, even if it's not successful in sports, you're gonna be successful at something. And I can honestly say that. So, man, we appreciate you guys coming on. I know it's been long, Denise. I know you're on the East Coast, Breann, you're in Texas. You know what I mean? You know, we on the West Coast over here, and I have an 8, and we got in last night at 3:30. So, cause we played in Boston, so or Massachusetts. So,
hey, anything special happened in that game?
Nothing crazy.
You picking off Cam Newton twice, that wasn't crazy. I think that's a round of applause, everybody.
Hey, man,
Wise man once told me, man, everybody could do it once.
Did
We
it
got
twice.
Russell Wilson. We got Russell Wilson this week. I'm not even worried about Cam no more.
Hey,
Move
hey,
on.
you gotta enjoy it for 24 hours. All right.
I mean, I'm already on to the next, man. You know what I mean? But no, seriously, in all seriousness, I definitely appreciate you guys coming on, man. Know we reached out to you guys, man, and for you guys to answer us quick, fast, and in a hurry, we appreciate it. You know, you guys dropped a lot of gems. I got my notebook right here. You know what I mean? I was taking notes, so uh, you know, just for me in general, you know, as I move on about my life. But I know somebody is gonna take something from this, some kid, you know what I mean? And I can't wait to hear about hear the replies back and you know and the reviews on what you guys just did. So you know, you never know who you're touching, and sometimes it only take you to touch one. You know what I mean? And that one kid could be a Will Clay. You know what I mean? He could be a Breann, he could be a Steve, he could be a Chip, a Theron, a Antwon, a Denise. You know what I mean? So we really appreciate you guys. Darren, you got anything?
Again, thank you guys. It's our first foundation event, so I think the gems that you guys shared are things that need to hear. I work at a high school. I'm a high school athletic director, so a lot of times you get a lot of parents coming in asking questions that you guys discussed, right? That I say it doesn't matter, but somebody who maybe has played at the next level, they can say it better than I can. So, you know, we just thank you guys for sharing your time, and then on behalf of the First Chance Youth Foundation, we thank everybody for just joining us tonight, and really hope that at least one person is going to walk away knowing college eligibility and what it's like to be an athlete. Thank you, Khalil Wilkes. Thank you, everybody, and all the panelists. It's much appreciated.